Hi, my name's Judy Riley, and I'm Compliance Manager on our Parish Reopening team here at St. Francis de Sales. I'd just like to talk to you a little bit about the Usher's role for our Christmas Masses. But before I do that, I'd like to say thank you very much for volunteering. You guys are amazing. Also, thank you for watching this video, because I think seeing the procedure here in church on camera will really help and make it a little more clear than just reading through some guidelines. So thank you for watching this. The video today that we're making is going to be in 3 parts. The ushers are going to have the roles of seating procedures, communion procedures, and dismissal procedures. And just to let you know, there are actually 6 ushers that are going to be volunteering for each Christmas Mass. And 2 of those ushers are going to be sort of in control of the overall flow of things. And the other 4 ushers are going to be in charge of the different sections of the church, managing those sections. So there'll be an usher Blessed Mother section, an usher in the center section, an usher in the chair section, and an usher over at St. Joseph's side. So I just want to give you a little overview of how this is all going to work in the very beginning. So the person or group will enter through the gathering space. They'll be checked in, they'll be welcomed, and then they'll be invited to come to the doors, the inner doors of our church. There'll be an usher standing right here by the white sign, and that usher will again welcome the person or the group, and they'll ask how many people are in the party. And once they find out how many people are in the party, that usher will invite them to go to the second usher, which is right down here. This usher will be stationed on the side of the baptismal font, and this usher will be responsible for directing the person or the group to the next available section. So again, it would either be to the Blessed Mother section, or to the center section, or over to the St. Joseph section, depending on where there's availability. So after that, the person or the group will move to that section, and there'll be an usher, like I said, in charge of that section. Now, the usher in that section will pretty much stay at that spot for the whole Mass. They really won't have to move that much. So the usher that's in charge of this section, of the section where the people are entering, will start down at the very front of the pew. We'll walk down here. So we'll start down at the very first pew. We're going to seat from the front to the back. And the usher will invite the person or the group to walk all the way down to the end of the pew or to the next available cross. Now, if it's single people, they can sit at each of the blue crosses that we have here. If there's a couple or a group, then obviously we're going to have to skip a blue cross in between just to maintain that 6-foot distance. The blue crosses are all 6 feet apart. So we want to maintain that 6-foot distance. So if there is a couple or a group, then they'll have to skip the blue cross in between and seat the next party at the next available cross. So that's pretty much for seating purposes. Now, we can talk about the chair section next. That's going to be the very last section that we seat. So once the Blessed Mother section is filled, the center section is filled, and the St. Joseph section is filled, we'll then start to seat the chair section. And we can walk over this way. If you notice right now, there's black roping across all the chairs. We want to keep that roping up before we start seating in this area, just because we don't want people sort of sneaking into the chair area before we're ready to fill it. So we will keep the black roping up until we're ready to fill, and the usher can move the black roping back as we're filling each individual aisle. So with the chair section, what we do is we invite people to move once again all the way down to the end of the pew or the aisle, And with the chairs, we're keeping 3 chairs in between each group. So you seat the group, and then you count 3 chairs, and then you would seat the next person or group after that. The very last thing that I wanted to comment is the day chapel. We are not going to be seating people in the day chapel. We're going to try and reserve that for our volunteers. Go. Okay, so now we're going to cover the communion procedures. So the ushers will be at the back of their sections, and at the Lamb of God, they'll come forward to the very front pew of their section with a bottle of hand sanitizer, and they'll wait here until the Eucharistic minister comes in front of their section. When that happens, they'll invite the people in the first pew to come forward, and they'll spray a little hand sanitizer, and they'll go ahead and invite them up to communion. And they'll just keep moving pew by pew until they reach the very back pew. Now, the one thing that I want to make sure that you're aware of is there can be backups in the communion line. So as you're inviting people out of the pews to receive communion, just keep an eye on the line for communion, because if there are backups, we would like you to sort of hold off on that pew or slow the pace down a little bit so that we can allow that line to disperse a little bit before, so that we always keep the 6-foot distance in between. Okay, now, for your own benefit, I want to let you know that on Christmas Masses, we'll be distributing to the Blessed Mother side and the chair section first, okay? And then once those sections are done, the Eucharistic ministers will move to the center section and to the St. Joseph section. So that's going to be the flow for communion. The Blessed Mother side and the chairs will go first, and then the center section and the St. Joseph side. And the normal flow for communion applies, just like we always do before COVID. You know, the same flow applies for the Christmas Masses too. Okay, so now we're going to discuss the dismissal procedures. And again, the ushers responsible for each section will start from the very back pew and move to the front this time for dismissal. We are going to be dismissing the center section and the St. Joseph side simultaneously. So the ushers for both those sections will start from the back and invite the people in the back pew to come out. In the center section, they're going to go past the day chapel and go out the east doors, the front doors of our church. And the St. Joseph section, the usher will be on the far side, the far aisle, and invite people to exit from the back to the front pews. And they're going to go out the west doors, the back doors of church. Now, while the center section is being dismissed, we want the usher of the Blessed Mother side and the usher of the chair section to hold their section back so that people do not leave those pews. After the center section is completely dismissed, then the usher for the Blessed Mother side will again dismiss from the back to the front of their section. And the Blessed Mother side will be the people will be invited to use the back aisle behind the center section, behind the camera. And they will again exit through the front door, the east doors of church. And the chair section, after St. Joseph's side is all dismissed, we'll have the chair section dismissed. So that usher will be in the aisle between the St. Joseph's side and the chair section. And they will invite, again, from the back to the front, they'll invite those people to use the back aisle behind the St. Joseph section, which is near that glass wall. And those people will exit through the west door, through the back doors of church. Now, the one thing that I really want to stress is when you are dismissing your section, keep your back to the altar, because I need you to keep an eye on the exits. A lot of times we'll get backups at the exits, and we can't have that because we need to keep that social distance of 6 foot apart from each other. So if you notice that there's a backup occurring at your exit, just hold the pew back until that line dissipates. And then once that goes down, then you can go ahead and invite the next pew to leave. So I think that's it for right now. Again, thank you for your time, for listening. We do want you to read through the guidelines to make sure that you understand those. They will be sent in the same email that you received this link for the video. And we also would like you to attend our Zoom meeting on Thursday night at 7 p.m. We're going to, again, discuss some of these guidelines, and most importantly, have a question and answer period, too, that if you do have any questions, we can address those at that time. So again, thank you very much, and we'll see you on Thursday night.